done a nose, plastic surgery with the help of a skin that's called autograft of skin transplantation. This is again reconstruction of the nose was done. This is again an example even in a modern medicine. So coming to the other part of the world, in Germany, in a Christianity, so there was a miracle of black leg. So where the gangrenous leg was replaced by a leg of a deceased soldier. So this is how it was transplanted. This is again in the few centuries back, that is in BC. So coming to China, the heart transplantation was done not for a structural damage in the heart, but it was done and exchanged. It was exchanged between a man with a strong spirit and weak will and a man with a weak spirit and strong will to have a balance. So, this concept has existed much before there was a structural damage or structural changes in the heart or failure in the heart. So it's how the Chinese has evolved their transplantation program. Now, coming to the modern medicine, the latest development in technology, I think this also you might have read in the recent newspaper and the media that recently it was published just a few days before that in New York, a pig kidney was transplanted to a human being. It is not been transplanted to the live, but it is transplanted to a brain dead to know how kidney works from a pig to a human beings. And it was observed that it has worked for a few hours, for 54 hours. And however, it requires a long-term, the study and particularly in the live human beings. So I think this is a hope for the future for the organ transplantation. So if you look at how the transplantation had evolved in modern medicine, so in 1908, the first transplantation was done for the knee, and 1909, the kidney transplantation was done from animal to human. In 1936, first human to human kidney transplantation was done, and first successful surgery was done with the help of a heart and lung bypass machine in 1953. In 1954, this is actually one of the landmark milestone in the organ transplantation, where successful live kidney transplantation was done from a sibling, from the sibling. It was successful, and in fact, both the donor and the recipient survived for almost few decades. I think this is a landmark transplantation in the history of organ transplantation. And then afterwards, we see a lot of organ transplantation happening live. In 1960, we had lung transplantation. 67, we had liver transplantation. 68, we have a heart transplantation in US. And 73, we had a bone marrow transplantation and hand transplantation 1998. Coming to India, particularly with respect to a deceased donor transplantation, first successful cadaver transplantation of kidney was done in India in 1967. That was in Kenya. In 1994, first heart transplantation was done at AIIMS. In 1995, multi-organ transplantation was done in Chennai, Apollo Hospital. In 1998, successful lung transplantation was done again in Chennai. And pancreas transplantation was done in 1999 in Ahmedabad. Coming to our twin, the Telugu-speaking states, that is Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, it was done in 2002. Kidney transplantation was done in 2002. That was at NIMS only. That was, I'm talking about the cadaver transplantation. Though the live transplantation was done in Usmania, that was, I believe, in 80s. So why are we talking about the organ transplantation? I said future is all going to be lifestyle disease and organ end-stage renal failure and organ transplantation, and it has been demonstrated in one of the published literature, which says even in developing country, the most common cause of death would be all these communicable diseases. It's not the infection. Though past 2 years we have been facing a pandemic, that is the infection disease of COVID. But I mean, by and large, I think it will be again take over once we get over this pandemic. It will be again taken over by the the lifestyle diseases, particularly with COVID pandemic. Whatever people used to go out and have physical activity, that has also stopped, and people are like even in conference we are doing online, sitting at our own desks. So that is actually going to add into our lifestyle and will increase about increase the prevalence of incidence of lifestyle diseases in future. And what is the requirement of organs in India? So we have 2 lakhs people suffering from kidney diseases and requiring kidney transplants. We have 50,000 patients suffering from the heart failures requiring heart transplants, at around 30,000 people suffering from the liver failures for various reasons and requiring liver transplantation. But look at the actual transplantations happening. It's around 10,000 for the kidney, in hundreds in liver. There's not a shortage of organs for the patients. And what is the organ donation rate across the whole world? So you can see the maximum is seen in Spain. It is around 50 per million. We calculate as 50 per million population. So it's Spain, it is 50. And you look at the India, the donation is very minimal. It is even less than 1. That is a very sad state, but the requirements is so huge. So that's where we need to work on it. And this has actually led to the organ trafficking. You have been frequently listening to the stories, various stories in media and then the newspapers, that there was organ trafficking, and then people were exploited, and then their kidneys were taken without their knowledge, or for some money. And even the donor family, they did whatever the money they have. They wanted a money in exchange with the kidney. Even that money they didn't get. So there are a lot of stories frequently popping up in our media. So this, and it has led to the organ trafficking. In India being a developing country, with majority of the population below the poverty line, and there is a uneven distribution of the money and inaccessibility to the healthcare system and the poor literacy rate. All these factors lead to the organ trafficking in India. Then what are the types of organ transplantation available? So we have a live and the deceased donor. Live, usually when it can be the near relatives which can donate. Near relatives means they've been defined by an act, the law. I'll talk about it later in a few slides. So near relatives defined by a law as first degree relatives. That is, it can be parents, it can be siblings, it can be kids, or it can be emotional related, that is spouse. So other than near relatives, so includes the second degree, or this third degree relatives, or it can be friends, it can be family members, near and dears other than the first degree relatives. So basically, there is again a structure for this, how to approach, when to approach, whom to approach, particularly when you are looking for other than near relative donors. And now, to increase the donor pool, we have a possibility of swap kidney transplantation, where two families can exchange their kidney when it's not matching to their own family members. That's called a swap kidney transplantation. So it is also possible with live donation. The second category is the deceased donor. So again, we have two categories in this. One is donation after brain death, and second is donation after cardiac death. So mostly we deal with the donation after brain death in India. We have not reached a point where we can go for a donation after cardiac death. So as I said, we have a legal structure for this, and as a medical fraternity, into the medical fraternity, it's your responsibility to know about what are the legalities of organ transplantation. So first, the act was formed in 1994. So basically, I don't want to go into the details of the act, but I'll say that there are few things which you should know. That is, act talks about who can be a donor. As I said, it has defined, and it has also defined the procedure, whom to approach, what are the committee, what are the composition of the committee, what are the responsibilities of this committee. I mean, how should this committee function to look at while giving a permission, particularly when it's other than a relative. It has also laid the structure for the hospitals to how to take the permission, what are the procedures to be followed while taking a permission. And the third aspect is when people violate this act, organ transplant, what are the punishment. So by and large, these acts covers about all these things. There have been several amendments depending upon how the program has evolved, or how the disease, the pattern is changing in our country. So there has been several amendments. The latest amendment was in 2011. So basically, it has expanded as I said, there is a lot of shortage. So they have expanded the donor, the near relative definition. They have included the grandparents and grandchildren also. And there is a discussion that to include even the second degree, third degree, that is cousins or in-laws, as a near relative, basically to expand the donor pool and to make more transplantation legal rather than encouraging a illegal organ transplantation. So, and then this act, act will only give you the broader outlines. Basing on the act, we have a rules. So these rules were amended in 2014. So rules has actually included what I said is swap transplant. That is, they can be exchanged between the two families. It can go on to more than two chains also. That's called as a domino transplantation. So where we start with a one and it end up in having a more than 5-10 transplantation happening because of this a sequence of chain extending. So okay, so 2014 we have there's a few amendments being made. particularly with swab transplantation. And then they have also been tried to amend the definition of a brain death. So I'll talk about the definition of the brain death in my slides later on. So this is about the act and the rules. After that, several state government has come up with their own GOs to particularly that is in sync with whatever the guidelines has been, the act has been, rules has been laid down by the central government, but they have their own flexibility to implement these, programs in their own state. So Tamil Nadu, the first one to come out with their own GO stating that the brain death is mandatory. So we see a lot of patients who are brain dead. So, we are not able to utilize these organs from the brain death. So, Tamil Nadu was the first to come out to say that the brain death is mandatory, particularly in government hospital. And once we have defined a patient as a brain dead, it is important for us to approach the family members for the organ donation. And recently, in 2020, Kerala government has also come up with a similar GO stating that brain death is mandatory in their state, and once it is declared, it is important for the medical fraternity, particularly the transplant coordinator. Each of the hospitals should have a transplant coordinator or ICU coordinator. They should approach the family member and discuss about the organ transplantation. After that, the Gujarat has come up, they have gone a step forward and saying that the family members can be approached about the organ donation. They don't agree for the organ donation, and in fact, all the life support can be withdrawn. So that's I think it's a one step ahead. It's difficult to implement in India. I mean, the concept of euthanasia has been a debate still. So, I mean, we can't implement the disconnecting with, against the family members' will. We have to take a permission of the family members. They are willing, only then we can disconnect. Okay, so this is what is advancement which is happening in the organ donation acts and the rules and the GO. So what is happening across the world? So as you see, so most Western, organ transplantation rates are very high. Western population, whether it's in America or the European countries. And there also, if you look at 80% is basically from a brain death. It's only 20% is from the life. It is reverse in India. India, approximately 90% is from the live. The brain death is only 10 to 20%. Fortunately, our state has very good programs. Our state is around 30 to 40%. I'll talk about it later on. So that's how the organ donation rate is, it's when compared to the Western literature. And we have two important programs, that is called the United Networking of Organ Sharing in America, and then organ procurement program in the Europe. So this is the 2019. You can look at what is the organ transplantation happening and rate. The numbers happening in US, it's 40,000. In India, it's though the population is 4 times more than the American, and then there is a huge possibility of organ transplant. The number is only 1,000. So it's very little compared to the Western literature. Having said that, so is it the medical fraternity or the the awareness among the public? Where is the hurdle? Where is the challenge? So this is one the survey which was done in the public and general population, and it says when it comes to general public, Indians are very open, and they have willingnessly agreed for the organ donation if it is possible. So it's not the Indian mindset. So generally it is said that Indians are, little religious, they don't come forward, they're not open-minded. So it's wrong, it's totally wrong. One of the survey, though the Spain was number 1 in organ donation rate, so Indian population, they are open-minded, and they have come, freely for organ donation. So it's our medical fraternity, we need to something, to match this, mindset of the people. And this is the graph showing, picture showing an organ donation rate. So predominantly the organ donation is happening only in the southern part. As I said, Tamil Nadu was number 1 to come up with such a nice program. And then followed by Andhra and Telangana, erstwhile Andhra Pradesh. And now slowly it is happening in the adjacent southern states like Karnataka, Kerala and Maharashtra, and it is very poor in the northern parts of India. It is just started in one of eastern countries, and then few of the north like Rajasthan. Okay, is it like we don't have a brain deaths? No. We have a lot of potential for the brain death, particularly when all the brain deaths come from road traffic accidents. And if you look at the statistics of the road traffic accidents, so around 5 lakh people die in a road traffic accident. Around, it is said that around 60%, there are 5 lakhs accident happening, and 60% they die. And amongst that, at least I can say, 50% would be a brain death, because it's all, brain injury. So we have potential of, generating around 1 lakh, brain death per year across India. And well, look at what are the requirements. As I said in my initial slide, 2 lakh is the requirement for the kidneys. So actually, we can meet whatever is the requirement if I can actually, convert all this brain dead into a potential donor. So that's where we need to act, and that we need to, organize ourselves, how to utilize. We have a people who are, willing to donate. We have a potential for the brain death. So we need to, introspect ourselves, our own health system and our own medical fraternity. So where are we lacking? So for a successful program, just excuse me for a second. Pawan, charge button. For a successful program, we need to have a government participation, and government has been helping us in terms of creating a policies and the guidelines. And our state government has been very supportive for this organ transplantation program through a program called Jeevan Daan, and it's been happening for a decade now. And we need to have participation of the neurologists and neurosurgeons, because brain death usually land up in the neurologist and neurosurgeon department, and these are the people who first encounter these patients. And these neurologists should have neuroscientists should have a knowledge about the brain death, how to declare a brain death, and they should be able to coordinate with the transplantation program or donation, like I can say not the transplantation team, but you can have a link or coordinate with the government programs which is trying to coordinate all these transplantation donation processes. And we need to have a hospital, particularly in the beginning of this program, a decade before, when we are trying to, implement this program, we saw that there was a lot of resistance from the hospitals. The hospitals administrations were afraid to take the patients who are brain dead or declare their patient brain dead. They were the impression that they would be dragged into some legal, this one, and then they'll be harassed for the lifetime. So now that there is, we can see that hospitals are also coming forward to register themselves, because unless we give a license to the hospitals, we cannot have an organ donation happening or the transplantation happening. The hospitals are coming forward and registering themselves as a licensed centers for the organ transplantation donation. And as I said, most of the donors are from the accident cases, and these are all medical legal cases. So we need to have a cooperation from the police people and then the forensic people. So we need to coordinate with them, and we need to organize all for whatever is the formalities required in terms of the inquest or the post-mortem. So all their team approach is required. So they have a major role in the organ transplantation program. The another important aspect is the registry. So as I said, there's a huge gap between the organ requirement and actual transplantation happening. So whenever there's shortage, there will be a lot of competition amongst the patients, among the hospital. Each of the patient would expect that he is a priority and he should get, and hospitals would expect that they should be given a priority, and the transplanted team that they should be given to their own patients. So there should be a system, scientific system, to allocate the organs so that most deserving patients, scientifically deserving patient, should be getting the organs. And of course, we need to have public awareness. And one of the survey we have shown, it has been shown very well that our public are very well motivated. We only need to coordinate with them for a better utilization. And we have a very key person in the entire program is a transplant coordinator. So as a rule, the donor should never ever come in contact with either the recipient or the transplantation team. So the transplant coordinator act as a mediator. They go to the donor family, they counsel them, and they convince them for the organ donation. And they also coordinate with the treating team for the declaration. They coordinate with the transplantation program like Jeevan Daan in Telangana for the organ allocation. And they also coordinate with the recipient coordinators where the organs are being allocated. So the transplant coordinator is a very key person in the entire program. So as Jeevan Daan, we have started coordinating all these, the activities, and has evolved into one of the successful programs. So I'll be talking about how we have evolved as a successful program in the entire country next few slides. So we have started our journey with this GO. This GO was released in Answal, Andhra Pradesh in 2010. It has important elements of, two major committees that is called as a CTAC, which is Apex Body Committee, which looks into all policy making. And then second is the AACT. So this is actually a committee with the director of DME as a, the chairman, and then the director NIMS as a co-chairman. And it looks into the day-to-day implementation and then the program. And we have subcommittees for this each of the organ, which looks into the policy of organ allocation if there are any challenges during allocation. So these challenges are being taken care of by the subcommittees. And we have a nodal office at Nizam Institute of Medical Sciences that was inaugurated in 2012. So we have administrative staff, we have a people for the software, and we have a people for the continuous the public education programs, and we have counselors who go around the hospital whenever we find a brain death patient, and they approach the family members and convince them for organ donation. And I just want to impress upon you about the brain death. The whole concept of organ donation, particularly deceased donor, it it depends upon individual awareness about the brain death. And as a medical veterinarian, I think it's very important for you to learn about the brain death. And it's better that you learn at this stage, because it's easier. As I said, you are going to the future, and I'm sure you will be going to be the intensivist in the future, the neurologist and neurosciences. You'll be dealing with the brain death, or you will be a part of the transplantation team, the surgeons or the physicians, or you might be in the administration looking at all these issues. So I think it's important for you to learn about the brain death. So brain death is basically, the brain stem death. There is a disconnect between the brain and the whole body. So the vegetative state, the coma, and the brain death are three different, clinical issues, clinical scenarios. So all patients who are comatose need not be brain dead, but all patients who are brain dead are comatose. Okay, so there are certain, the clinical signs we should look at. So when it's a simple bedside, the procedure which can be easily picked up by even an MBBS graduate. So when you are seeing a patient, first thing is you should be comatose. Second thing is you look at the brainstem reflexes. These are simple reflexes. You just look at the, pupils will be dilated and fixed. And then look at the corneal reflex. Once you touch the cornea, the eyes will blink. That response will not be there. And then there will be doll's eye. If you move the head side by side, the eyeballs move in the opposite direction. It's called as the doll's eye. So in a brainstem death, it will be lost. And there will be cough reflex. Once you touch your the throat with the help of the rise tube, whatever it is. So the patient will try to cough, but this cough reflex will be absent. This is a basic bedside where we can suspect that these patients could be a brain death. And how do you diagnose brain death? It's again a simple bedside procedure. It's called apnea test. Patients are comatose and they are on ventilator. So we try to disconnect. We are trying to stimulate the brainstem for a respiratory, the trigger. So if you don't find any respiratory movement, it is called as a brain death. So how do you stimulate that? So you are trying to disconnect the ventilator and to build the PCO2 to a maximum of 20 millimeters of mercury above the baseline. So most of the time it is PCO2 is 40. So you discuss the ventilator, wait for a few minutes, and again take an ABG. You demonstrate that there is a rise of PCO2 by 20 from the baseline or to a maximum of 60, and you don't find any of the respiratory movement, is called as a brain. It is a basic, simple bedside procedure. I think any of the MBBS graduates should be able to do this. But however, this again has to be trained. Basically, this is now being done by the intensivist. So if we can't do, in most of the situation, patient, particularly with most chest injuries or the facial injuries, very difficult to disconnect the ventilator, or sometimes patients will go into hypotension. So it's very difficult. So we can do ancillary tests, that is other invasive tests like a cerebral angio, or we can do nuclear scan to demonstrate the cerebral perfusion. So nuclear scan will not pick up any of these perfusions for empty cellular sign. You can see, you can appreciate that there is no perfusion of the brain. So these are all the invasive procedure where we can demonstrate if we cannot do the simple apnea test at the bedside. And at times EEG can also pick up the brain death. Okay, so that is about the brain death. A few words about the optimization. So brain death is like very dynamic state. It's not remain brain death for hours or days together. So within few minutes, there's something like now we are talking about cytokine storm in the COVID. So there is a neurohormonal storm in case of a brain death. So a lot of chemicals are released, hormones are released from the brain, from a liquefying brain or ischemic brain, and they get circulated into the whole body, and they'll cause a hemodynamic instability and metabolic failure. Ultimately will lead to either the organ damage or the cardiac arrest. So we need to be very proactive in optimizing the donor, particularly when the patient is unstable. So again, this requires a lot of understanding. I think it's little technical knowledge is required. So you can, if you are interested, you can enroll with we conduct various CME programs, and we will try to train you in optimization of the potential donor. So we have a lot of organs being utilized. So we have including major organs and the tissue, around 50 to 100, organs and tissue can be utilized from a brain dead individuals. So coming to India, in Telangana, we are trying to utilize only the major organs, that is heart, lung, liver, kidneys, pancreas. We have done transplantation, and coming to tissues, we are using only cornea, and recently we have started using the skin as well. In fact, one donation is happening in Apollo Hospital, where we have tried to use the skin as well. And again, the retrieval process is again a very, I think it's a very technical thing. We need to have a anesthesia, a lot of understanding how to maintain, though patient is dead, we have to maintain the viability of the organs and the circulation between the organs are retrieved. So a lot of understanding is required. That happens in a very scientific manner. It's not like patient is dead, you remove your organs and then take away. The viability of all these organs, because it has to survive in the recipient for decades. So that has to be maintained. So this again a science. I think it will be experienced with the surgical team, and we need to have a proper training in this. Again, packing is again these are protocols for how to pack so that these are not damaged. These organs have limited shelf life. It's called a cold ischemic time. So minimum is heart has to be transplanted within 4 to 6 hours. That's why you are seeing in media most of the time heart are making noise. And kidney has maximum cold ischemic time. It can be stored, for maximum 72 hours. But most of the time we try to use it within few hours only. So this is all is called package. Again, we have a dynamic and then static packages. I'll not go into the details of that. It's like to understand how the process goes on. So, and another challenge what we have faced is, I told you, we should have a proper allocation system. So for this allocation to be transparent. So we need to have a very scientific and transparent way of organ allocation. For that, we have translated the entire thing into online the allocation system. I think this is first in India, which has happened. So though Tamil Nadu was #1, they didn't have a proper online allocation system. We have a very good portal. And I think we had been examples to other different states. They have, tried to simulate this program, particularly Karnataka, the Kerala, Gujarat, and then Orissa. Now they are following our the portal only. So a little bit of modification as per their own local allocation policies. So this is a web-based allocation. All patients need to register, and for each of the organ we have a criteria. What I said is we have a subcommittee. They have recommended the allocation guidelines. We have translated that to the online. So during the registration itself, we get the waiting list as per their scientific criteria, like depending upon their duration of dialysis, their access failure, the age. The pediatric population have a priority, and the previous patient has happened to a previous donor, so he should get a priority. We have a score system for that, and everything is digitalized. So there's no role of individual interfering with the allocation system. Okay, so this is how the score is generated. You can just appreciate the scores. And for the liver also, we have the MEL score. So basically over the MEL score, they get a priority. High the MEL score, the high will be the weightage for the allocation. And in liver, we have a rota system for allocation, particularly with the common pool when there is transplantation program is not happening. And we do have the emergency, super urgent allocation, particularly with respect to acute liver failures, because they need to get transplantation within 24 hours. So we have something called super urgent livers as well. So this is the criteria for the super urgent. Just don't want to go to the details. And we again have a priority for the multi-organs. So this is how we have evolved over a period of years. So just wanted to show that it works on the portal basis, and which is very transparent. That was about the portal. Okay. And coming to the statistics, we have started our program, Jeevandaana program 2012. So, and 2014, we got bifurcated, and 2015, we've been dealing with the Telangana. As you can see, there have been steady increase in the organ donation rate. I mean, though 2020, because of the COVID, there was fall in the donation rate, but again, we have picked up in 2021, and till today, we have 125 donations in Telangana. And this is the individual organ transplantation happened. Overall, till this in initiation of the program, we have 931 donations. These are brain dead donations. So 1,000, around 400 kidney transplantation, 800 liver transplantation, 136 heart transplantation, and then 105 lung transplantation, pancreas also we had 11 transplant. Overall, we had on 3,500 organ transplantation. These are all the donations. Just wanted to make you realize that it's happening only in most of the private hospitals. So I think government hospital are, equipped with everything, and we actually have a government hospital have a lot of accident coming up. So we have a lot of potential for organ donation, but somehow it's not happening. So I just want you to please work, particularly when you're going to house surgeon. You are the people who come across the first patient in the EMDs or emergency departments. So you have to identify and inform the concerned authorities so that we can start taking action. And the gender has been a major debate in all whatever is the field, but in medicine or whatever non-medical field. Even in organ transplantation, gender displacement has been a topic of debate. So it's observed that in live transplantation, the female is always a donor and the male is always a recipient. Whether it's a mother, it's a wife, it's a sister. So it's always in the donor side, and it is always the husband and the son who is receiving the kidney. But fortunately, with this deceased donor, we have changed the concept of gender disparity. It is the male who is the donor. I mean, again, I can say this can be a bias because male only, they meet with an accident because they go around and then they are more accessible to the healthcare system. Having said that, but I can say the male donor, unlike the live transplantation where we see only the female donor. So, and this is the organ transplantation year-wise. I just wanted to emphasize that you can see the lung and heart transplantation. Though we have started doing the liver and kidney transplantation in the beginning of the program, the liver and heart, lung and the heart were not picked up. It's only in the last 2 years, you can see initial from 2000, initial few days, there was no transplantation at all. And slowly, it started happening in 2018 and 19. If you look at 2020, all of a sudden 20 transplantations happened. And now this year, 62 transplant. That means there's been increase in the lung transplant. This is because of the COVID, what we have observed. So it has our hospital, the state has been as help for the lung transplantation across the India. So most of the patients who have been suffered from the lung damage post-COVID, so we have tried to shift to our state, and we have got this transplantation. And in fact, we have also tried to move the organs from lungs from across the state through the help of the NOTO. The NOTO is the national organization which is there at Delhi. So we could get all the lung across the country, and then the recipient also we mobilized, and we have done quite a good number of lung transplantation during this COVID times. And this was in the media also recently that Telangana has become a hub for the lung transplantation. So coming to the recipients, as I said, there are lakhs of patients waiting for the organ transplantation, but coming to Telangana, online active patients, we have around 7,000 patients being listed for various organs in our system. Now, I have discussed that, coming to donations, not much donations are happening in government hospital, but if you look at transplantation, we are no less, we are not lagging behind. Even in government hospital, we have done quite a good number of organ transplantation, including the lung and the heart transplantation and the pancreas transplantation. You can imagine, you are most of as the organizers, you are working in government hospital Usmania. So you can imagine how difficult it is to do the heart transplantation, pancreas transplantation, liver transplant in government setup. So we have done quite a good number of organ transplantation even in the government. So around 370 transplantations have been done over the past few years. And it's not like, the poor who are being exploited and rich are only getting the organs. So with this program, so even the poor are accessible to organ transplantation, and the government has been very helpful. We have all the packages for organ transplant, including heart, liver, lung, kidney, and we have packages from around 3 lakhs for the kidney transplantation to around 12 lakhs for the liver transplantation and the heart transplantation. So all organ transplantations packages are there in Aarogyasri, and all the government hospital transplants were covered under Aarogyasri, have been done under Aarogyasri. So another point I have discussed, the transplant coordinator. These are the key person in the entire program, because these are actually mediators between the donor and the recipient team, and they are important in converting a brain dead into a potential donor. So nowhere in India we have a structured training program for that in any of the universities. So when realizing this, we have started a training program for these coordinators under the Jivandan, and I'm glad that Usmania is heading that program. Dr. The superintendent of the Usmania is the convener, and Dr. Manisha, he is the HOD of the nephrology department, is the chairman for this the entire coordinator training program. And we have trained around 400 coordinators over the past few years. So we do have a the syllabus also for them. There is no stuff. When as a medical students, you have a lot of literature, you have a lot of books to read about. But these coordinators, co-coordinators, they don't have any literature available. They don't have any the syllabus or the books for them. So we have tried to come up with even the manual for the transplant coordinator. The soft copy is available. It is not only for the coordinator, even for the medical graduates or the postgraduates. I think it's very useful. If you are free, you can just download and just go through. It has all the contents which is suitable for the organ transplantation, including the acts. So it's there, soft copy is available. So I have only a few hard copies with me. If you are really interested, you can just write a letter to me or just mail me, so I can provide few copies. So this is one of the program, transplant coordinator training programs. Every batch we conduct, we have around 100 intake for every year. So we are about to start another program in next year. So I think people are interested, they can enroll with us. It's not only for the coordinators, any medical graduates also. We have quite a good number of medical graduates or postgraduates who have actually enrolled for this program. So we give a certificate after this completion of this program. The other challenge which we have faced is India being, the religious country with many religions, particularly the Hindu, Muslim, and Christianity. So there are challenges with the religious as well in terms of organ donation. So I have given a few examples from Hinduism and then the Christianity also, but we don't have a set examples in Muslim community, and that was a real challenge. And we didn't have many of the donations from a Muslim community. For this, we have tried to actually, educate the religious scholars, the Muslim religious scholars. We have conducted various programs and took the leaders with us and tried to convince them. And then they said there is nothing written in the Quran that it should not be, organ donation should not happen. So it can be given, particularly when it's happening for the mankind. So they were convinced, and then we have started getting few donations after that, after these meetings. And we had around, I think, 10 donations from the Muslim community. And the other challenges I said is the medical legal cases. So most of the, predominantly 80% of the donations come from the road traffic accidents. They are all medical legal cases, and we need to have a cooperation from the police. So we have initiated this program called Maro Janma with the help of the police. So we have conducted various awareness programs among the police people, and we have taught them what is brain death. There was a lot of confusion. They say we should we only come into the picture of the patient is dead, patient is still alive, patient heart is beating, patient is on ventilator. How do you say patient is dead? Only once patient is dead, you call us, then we'll come and do a panchnama. So we try to educate them that brain death is a death. The second declaration is taken as a death, and then you have to do a panchanama. So whenever there is a request from a Jivandan, the organ transplantation program, even in the middle of the night. So now they've been very helpful. In fact, they are the asset for our program, and they also help us in counseling the family members when their family members are not coming forward. Particularly when coming from a police people, they have a lot of trust. And of course, whenever police says something, it has a lot of credibility. So that's how the acceptance has increased. So that has been, police have been very helpful for us in creating this awareness and then all this protocols in transplantation. So we have laid up policies with the help of, the leaders in the police commissioners, and then the DGP. So we have had various circulars circulating to all the police stations across the state. And another help which seek from the police people is the green corridor. So when the concept of green corridor, we never knew. So once we were talking to police people, they said it is only given to political leaders, particularly in the country, to the prime minister and the president. In the state, it is given only to the chief minister and the governor, and none else. So this is only, the organs are only, next to, these 4 people where they get a green corridor. So I really appreciate the police people for coordinating. Just we have to give, the route, the, starting point, the ending point, and then the vehicle carrying that, the number, individual number. So rest is taken care by the police team, traffic team particularly. And the Hyderabad roads are so busy, and particularly when organ is in somewhere in Kamyani hospital, which is one end, and then the transport is happening in the other end. So it takes hours together. And particularly when we are transporting a heart has to be transported within 4 hours. So that's where we need, we seek a help from the police people in transporting, and these organs are transported within few minutes, saving the the cold ischemic time. So police not only in helping us in the panchanamas or the inquest or the road traffic admin, the creating a green corridor. They are also helping us in counseling the family members. And recently, the police themselves, they came for, because unfortunately police are always on roads. Recently we had a very unfortunate thing that police was checking the drunken drive, and he was hit by a vehicle. By a drunken driver. So he was caught dead, and he himself, when family members came forward to donate their organs. So police also, they are coming forward. So this has been a very great example for the entire this state, that when police are coming forward to donate their organs in our system, so it builds a what called the trust in the system. So I'm very thankful to the police people. I take this opportunity to thank them also. They have been helping at each and every step. So when people are educated and they are in the cities, particularly Hyderabad, so they know the concept and they accept it. Either they accept, they say no. They're clear about their thought process. They say yes, we accept, or they say no. So no amount of convincing and counseling will change their attitude. But when it comes to villages, so villages, they are ignorant, they are illiterate, they don't know what is brain death, they don't know what is organ donation. So it's very difficult to convince them. And the major fear, what we have realized is, they say that we don't have, because anyhow we can't do anything with the body. So if you want, you can take, but if it comes to the knowledge of the village, they will try to criticize, saying that you have sold the organs, you have done business. So what we have done is, we go along with them to their village, and we participate in all the rituals and try to honor them with the help of the local leader and the local police in the front of their own villages. So the fear, we have transformed that into a hero, the attitude of hero. So that has changed a lot of, the belief or the concept of organ donation particularly in villages. So that has made a lot of change. That is what we have called as a donor condolence program. So that we have been doing that regularly, and that has changed the awareness, public awareness in the villages. And we do a donor felicitation program regularly. There's a lot of debate and a lot of the argument going across whether the donor family should be benefited. So there is an international norms that is called Declaration of Istanbul. The donor families, it is not a commercial activity. So donor should not be given any monetary benefit. But however, we can do some indirect help, particularly when it's coming from a poor family where the breadwinner is lost, and we have kids, small kids where they're not educated. So we are helping them out of the way, not in terms of monetary benefit, but in terms of providing the education or whatever it is. And we have recommended to the government that there should be some benefit. Particularly, there can be some sports quota. Sometimes we have the sports quota. We can, we have a handicapped quota. So we can have some quota in terms of giving them extra ration, because particularly when they're coming from poor family, or they can have some quota for the education. We can have some quota for their employment, something like that. We have recommended. I think it will take some time for the government to realize and implement all these activities. So, and we do a regular training program. So particularly we have been targeting the MBBS also, particularly at the level of entry, so that they have some awareness and understanding, and they don't hesitate when they come out of their graduation, and then when they take up their post-graduation, they don't hesitate in declaration. They come out of all the apprehensions. So of course, it is a continuous process. It cannot be done overnight. So I really appreciate for having taken this subject, and then trying to know more about the organ donation. Okay, so this we have been trying to go into a IT platform, and then we have mobile apps. People can try to pledge their organs easily, and we are trying to build an app also for the organ allocation, so that we can do organ allocation as fast as possible amongst the hospitals. And recently, we have also trying to expand our program, and we have started the skin banking in Usmania Hospital. It's again another, I think, feather in the Usmania Hospital. So this is state of the art, and it's the first of its kind in the entire Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. We don't have any of the skin banking apart from the Usmania, and I'm happy to share that today only we have one donation where the people have agreed to, family members have agreed to donate their skin, and then the Usmania team is right now there in the Apollo Hospital for the skin retrieval. And these are all public awareness programs. As of course, public has been very motivated. They should be guided properly. And then we have been taking the help of the celebrities, because it's easier to influence the public with the help of celebrities. So several celebrities also come forward to educate the public about the organ donation. And these are the few events. Every event we try to have on stall, or so that, I mean, even if you are able to change the mindset of an individual, I think our job is done. So we have all, if you have any events in your family members, you just let us know. We'll try to have our stall, and we'll try to educate the public. And we have had various walks and runs for awareness drives. And this is a heart transplantation which has recently happened in NIMS Hospital. And then we have got the heart from Kamini Hospital, and then the organ was transported through a metro. So transporting an organ through a metro was also like first of its kind, and it was covered by the media. And media has been very helpful in creating a positive, the image for organ transplantation. So I thank the media also, because media is very powerful tool. They can just make things ups and down within seconds. So fortunately, our media has been very helpful. And we have got few honors also. As I said, this the web portal which we have developed was first of its kind in entire India, and other states have tried to follow us, and we got the best the governance award for this in 2015, and 2018-19 we also got one of the best the program for this website. And we were also honored for one of the best disease owner transplantation program in the country by the NOTO in 2017. And we have gone into the textbooks also. As I'm discussing that, at the graduation itself, you should be aware about the organ transplantation, organ donation, particularly the scientific aspects of it. But the overall, the concept should be rooted in at the secondary school itself. So we have, got it into our textbooks also. It is there in the 10th class state syllabus. I don't know how many of you have, read this when you are in 10th class. I think it was there when the present batch was studying 10th class. So it's there in 10th class biology textbook. About organ donation, brain death, and the Jeevandan program as well is covered. So next coming generation, all the students, the teachers, the parents would know. And then, as I said, all future is all about depends upon the youngsters and their understanding and their knowledge. So I believe with this, in future, everybody would be knowing about the organ transplantation and the Jeevandan program. So though to begin with, in India, it was Tamil Nadu who has started the program first. So we have surpassed Tamil Nadu a few years before. And in terms of numbers, I think we are number one in the entire country. And this is few of the clippings which have shown that, we have surpassed even the Tamil Nadu, which was supposed to be number one. And we are trying to expand, though we are concentrating in the major cities, we are trying to go to the districts as well as, the higher up, that is at a national level. So we have a national level body called NOTO, National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. So under NOTO, we have a ROTO called the regional organization. So we have 5 regional organizations in the entire country. And each of the state is called as a SOTO, state organization. So all the southern states come under ROTO, which is at Chennai. So whenever we have a donation across the India, so most of the time what happens is the kidney and the liver is utilized within the state. If heart, and particularly our state is doing better in the heart and lung transplantation. If the donation is there in the other state, if they don't use heart and lung, we get information through NOTO and ROTO. And then if we have a recipient's waiting list, we send our waiting list and they try to allocate, and the donor hospital, they try to coordinate with the recipient hospital. They arrange the, the transportation, and over the past, at least basically during COVID times, we were able to utilize most of the lungs which were wasted in other states, because lung and heart transplantation is happening. The expert teams are there in Telangana and Tamil Nadu. So we were able to utilize most of the lung, and which has actually increased the lung transplantation program, which was actually going low over the past few years. Okay, that's what we have evolved. I think with this, you have got some knowledge. Is only a basically introduction part. If you have anybody is interested, you can contact us. We will try to train them in whatever aspect, whether it's declaration, whether it's optimization, whether it's counseling, or in terms of the recipients also. I mean, I believe most of your family members or your friends might be suffering. So we can also help you in registering the patients and getting the transplantation done. Okay, so we are in the social media as well. You can just follow us in social media, and that is basically to create awareness. Now, I think this is only the platform, one of the biggest platform to reach people in the social media. So I think I'll conclude my talk with this, and thank you very much for your attention. And excellence is just a continuous process, not just an accident. It's a continuous process. I think this is just a beginning. You have to travel a lot with lot of experience and expertise to become an expert in that field. So you can, you're apt. You're in the right place and it's the right time, because you are the future, and you can help us in creating awareness. And you can become an anesthetist, or the neurologist or neurosurgeons, and you would be a part of the declaration team, or you can be a part of the transplantation physicians, or the surgeons in future. Or as I said, you can also require organ, particularly your family members. The incidence of ESRD is increasing day by day, that definitely your own circle would always have patients who would be requiring the organs. So you can participate in any way you require. So thank you for your attention, and happy to take any questions if there are. Let me see if there are questions in the chat box.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a very informative session on organ donation. Ma'am, we have a few questions from the delegates. The first question is from Mohammed Ibrahim, and he has asked, ma'am, can you please address the probability of CKD patients going for organ transplantation?
Okay, now CKD is a chronic kidney disease. So we have a lot of different etiologies for CKD. Like we have interstitial disease, we have glomerular disease. So it all depends. We have different stages of CKD depending upon the glomerular filtration rate. Normal glomerular filtration rate is more than 90. So less than 60 to 90 is stage 1. When stage 2, then we have a 45 to 60. We have different stages, and less than 15 is called as a stage 5, where they require dialysis. This progression usually is different with different diseases. Usually the interstitial diseases, usually because of either drugs or the infection, they are slow growing, and it takes years together. Glomerular diseases, by and large, they are fast progressing. Even in glomerular disease, we have different categories. For example, FSGS is a fast progressing, membranous nephropathy, which is a very slow progressing. So it all depends upon the underlying cause of CKD. And we have different protocols, particularly immunosuppression protocols. So we have to treat the patient in the right time, with the right, the medications, so that we can retard the progression. We have seen, CKD patients who have approached us are almost 20, 30 years back, and now they have come up for transplantation. So it can be as low as, few days to a maximum, decades. So maximum what I could see with my own experience is 30 years. After 30 years, he got into a ESRD. And stage disease requiring a transplantation. So you have to look at the underlying disease and what are the management protocols, and whether he is being regular follow-up with the protocols and the diet and other management of diabetes, hypertension, all those things. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
The second question is from Anshika, and she's asked, what is the minimum age for organ donation?
Age for organ donation? No, there is no age for the live. Actually, we only take organs from adult, that is more than 18 years. Okay, and the highest age for the live is 65. It depends upon the country to country. So for us, we put a cutoff of 60 to 65, but in Western they take till 60 also, 70 also. So again, that depends upon the organ functioning status. That is about the life. For cadaver, we can take it from a newly born child also, newly born baby also. So only thing is, newborn baby will have very small kidneys, small organs. It is suitable only to a pediatric patient. So that age match you have to look at. Basically, when you are taking an organ from a pediatric donor, that is a brain death. So there is only change in the definition of the brain death. So usually what happens is brain death is declared. It's not like single test you do and you declare. It has to be repeated after 6 hours, and then only you have to declare it. We have to make sure that it's completely it is irreversible. It's not reversible. That is the purpose of having a second declaration. So in pediatric population, the duration decreases because they are more flexible, and the chances of recovery is high. So the duration increases. First declaration to second declaration, it can be 12 hours, 24 hours, or at times a week in case of a newborn. So after 1 week only, we do a second test and then only we take. So it's only the definition of the brain dead which changes in a pediatric population. The organ can be utilized, but organ should go to a age match and size match recipients. Okay, and at times kidneys are so small that we have transplant 2 kidneys into individual recipients. That's called a dual kidney transplantation. That also can happen. Okay. So what is the question? Minimum age, okay, and what is that? Post QS, PI post QS and feedback on the chat box. What is that?
Ma'am, actually, there are 2 different Zoom links.
Okay.
So the delegates are part of the other Zoom link.
Okay.
The next question is from Nitisha, and she has asked, what is the best way to develop awareness among people regarding organ donation?
Yeah, there is no single best way. Organ awareness should happen multiple ways in multiple groups, and it's continuously. Okay, but looking at the the scenario, the present generation, what population we are targeting at. So it is a younger generation. I think we can use the social media. If it's elderly, we should approach them, their family members, or we can approach the communities, as it's a religious community. There's no single best way. It's all multiple and targeting multiple sections of people. Okay. So there's no single what I can say. I mean, if you have any new ideas, I think you are the youngsters. You can share with us. We'll try to implement that.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. The next question is by Anjana, and she has asked, what are the complications of organ donation?
Organ donation. So complication of organ donation particularly comes with respect to life. So when a live individual is donating his organ, what is that he is likely to face in future? Okay. One thing is he is a very normal individual. Okay. He is being subjected to a surgery. That is either nephrectomy or the liver removal, whatever it is. So like when he's being subjected, there are certain surgical risks. For example, anesthesia risk could be there, or there can be an infection to the wound. So all these surgical risks could be there. Okay. And long term, particularly with respect to kidney, but because he has to survive on a single kidney has to work for the both kidneys. So that's where he can develop in future hypertension, or he can develop proteinuria because of the hyperfiltration. One kidney has to filter more, so there can be proteinuria, or sometimes he can also develop end-stage kidney disease. So these are the things. That's why they should have certain lifestyle modification. That's the reason why the donor has to be subjected to entire screening process with respect to his organ functioning, diabetic status, hypertension status, the GFR, whether he's fit to undergo surgery, all those things. After this clearance only, we give clearance for the transplantation, and then he undergoes a precision nephrectomy. After transplantation, he has to be on regular follow-up, particularly with respect to hypertension, the proteinuria, and various organ function like LFTs and RFTs. Okay, and they should have a lifestyle modification. They should avoid all junk foods and all unhealthy foods. They have to be on healthy food. They have to have regular exercises and regular checkups, medical checkups. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. The last question is by Aditi, and she has asked the criteria for organ transplantation.
Criteria for organ donation or transplantation?
Transplantation.
Yeah, donation is, like I said, living and the brain death. Living, you should have a screening for that donor is healthy enough to undergo procedure and healthy enough to live a normal life after donation. When it comes to brain death, we should have a brain death criteria. Unless we fulfill brain death criteria, he can't be a donor. Coming to the recipients, so whether it's whatever is organ failure, for example, kidney failure, so he'll get a kidney. Reasons are different. So liver failure, it can be because of alcohol, it can be because of hepatitis B and C, it has a malignancy, whatever is the failure should be end-stage organ failure. End-stage organ failure, kidney, they have to be on dialysis. So we don't have some artificial dialysis for the liver. So there are any chronic cirrhotic patient that they can be listed. And we have a scientific criteria like MELD score. So it depends upon the MELD score. We can assess the severity. For example, MELD score is less than 15, is stable enough not to undergo transplantation. It's more than 15. That suggests that he requires a transplantation. And so also with heart failure and lung failure. Heart failure, we have a heart failure scores. So severe degree of heart failure, not able to survive without oxygen. So these comes under the eligibility for transplantations. Lungs also, lung failure and some requiring oxygen support, not able to do physical activity. So these are few criteria for the listing for a transplantation. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Contraindications are there, like malignancy. Patient is not able to survive even after transplantation. Is likely to die of other causes like malignancy, or is not mentally stable enough to have regular follow-up or have a regular medications, and they have other chronic infections. So these are few contraindications. We have to look at the contraindication and then list them for transplantation.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for patiently answering all our questions. The session was very, very informative, ma'am. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Pariplavi to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swarnalatha, for bringing out the various aspects to organ donation, for narrating the story, the history of organ donation through the ages across the world, and bringing out the socio-economic, the cultural, the religious factors which have been helping or hindering the process. And, the concept of Maro Janma, the medical legal aspects. And you brought out very well how essential it is for coordination of the different departments, from the government sector or, the public, especially the public awareness goes a long way in giving cooperation and leading to efficiency of the program. And it was very nice, the fact that you brought out about appreciation of the donors in so many ways, long-term, helping them. And also about the positive journalism, which is the need of the hour, more so over the past 2 years. There is an enormous need for positive journalism. And thank you for offering to share the transplantation manual with all of us. And the program that you're bringing about for the young doctors, we would all like to be a part of it. Yes. And you brought out very well the differences between the private and the government sector and how there is a need to increase the donation component in the government setup, and how education and learning, and more importantly, action is so important. And that is where all our, young doctors have a very important role to play. Thanks so much for inspiring them in that aspect also, because they need to work for the people by working with the people, and that is also the government setup. Thank you so much for that. And also bringing out the gender disparity, regarding both in live and cadaver transplants, both as donors and as recipients. And special thanks for bringing out the various factors, the variables that are involved in recording and especially interpreting the research data. For discussing the different aspects to all the data that you had. That was very nice and useful for, especially in the context that we have all gathered now. And students, the message is, please carry all your learnings from this session forward. Please absorb it and carry it forward. And thank you all for attending this. Special thanks to Dr. Swarnalatha. And a great word of appreciation for the team that put this program together. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. I appreciate the, the students who have been organizing this, and I really appreciate you for, bringing out the concept of Osmecon and then, making them exposed to whatever is required for them in future, and, laying the proper foundation for the students. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
There's a lot of hidden curriculum that we need to fulfill, all of us together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Over to you, Sanchi.
Thank you so much, Pariplavi ma'am, for inspiring all of us today with your beautiful words. I'd like to thank Dr. Swarnalatha ma'am for bringing out the various aspects of organ donations, that is the need for them, the current scenarios, and the future prospects. Thank you, ma'am, for narrating the story of organ transplantations and of Jeevandan too. We are all inspired to spread the message forward to enable giving a fresh lease of functional life to many needy people. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'd also like to thank all the delegates and the guests who have attended. And I'd like to invite all the delegates to participate actively in the events over the next few days. I'd like to wish all of you a very good day.
Good day to all of you. Good day to you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And all the best for your, conference, 3 days of conference.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.